This video is sponsored by TokyoTreat and Sakuraco. More on them a little later. Sups up everyone, welcome to another video. It's been another 2 weeks and I'm back again. However, really, is there too much going on in Genshin Impact right now? Not much, right? We're at that point in the game right now. You know, it's end of the patch for Fontaine. Everybody's looking towards Natlan. A lot of people are just coming on, collecting their welcome moons, and then piecing right the hell off. Honestly, at this point, to say some players are playing Genshin on life support is not going to be much of a stretch. But of course, the point of this video is again to point out the pros and cons of players who want to invest more into Fontaine characters or want to wait for Natlan. We need to look at past patterns before we can continue this video because we learn from the past so we can better prepare for the future. Now, but you know what doesn't fall flat and boring is our sponsor for this video, TokyoTreats and Sakuraco. For those who don't know, TokyoTreats and Sakuraco are two distinct Japanese themed snack boxes. Both are filled with up to 20 authentic snacks straight from Japan. This month's box theme is Sakura Matsuri Snack Fest and a night of Sakura. So last month we were introduced to Sakura during the daytime, but for our April box, we're introduced to Sakura in the nighttime, also called Yozakura in Japanese. Cherry blossom in the daytime envelops with hope and happiness, but nighttime Sakura allures you to the enchanting beauty under the moonlight. The TokyoTreat and Sakuraco box has filled with a delightful assortment of Sakura-inspired treats, pairing perfectly with the Yozakura special tea, the blueberry hibiscus tea, and with this month's tableware item, the Sakura glass. If you want your own TokyoTreat and Sakuraco boxes or want to gift this to friends during Sakura Festival, you can use my code and link down for a discount. Thank you, TokyoTreat and Sakuraco, for sponsoring this video. If we look back towards Fontaine and even further back, it's safe to say that, well, just because Natlan is coming and is on the horizon doesn't mean that Fontaine characters are going to be outdated. In fact, Genshin has done amazingly in terms of retaining old characters and their relevancy within the game space. Not to mention, Fontaine characters are some of the most loaded stat-wise in the game to date. It's also because prior to Fontaine, we had Sumeru, which introduced the Dendro element, which honestly blew the lid off in terms of reaction power creep. Hence why Fontaine characters, to be competitive, they had to be slightly overtuned, both in terms of base stat, but as well as constellations. During this slow and boring period of the game, most players would tend to just splurge on characters that are already powerful within Fontaine, such as Neuvillette, such as Furina. Now, of course, there are rumors that Furina's may be getting a rerun, so many people just can't help but want to itch that gotcha spot that is hard to reach. Now let's talk about Furina, because honestly, she's the easiest one to get out of the way. If you really want to invest into Furina and your Furina is sitting at C0, I'd say getting her to C2 is really, really good. It's a great investment. Just because Natlan's coming, the Pyro Archon is going to be walking in on the red carpet, doesn't mean Furina's going to be out of date. In fact, she is probably going to keep her position longer than most other Archons if I'm going to take a shot in the dark with this, alright? You know why? Because she combines two of the most broken ass characters the game has to offer to date if you can get her all the way to C6. Now, of course, getting her to C6 is no easy task, but I'm just saying her ceiling is really, really high. She's kind of like a combination of Bennett as well as Kazuha, mixing in a little bit of Kokomi as well, because she is the best healer in the game with the best buff in the game. And of course, with C4, she can also solve for energy recharge issues, so she can cycle through everything perfectly. Perfect buffing, perfect healing, and of course a ton of damage, as well as hydro application, hydro being the best element in the game. So investing in Furina right now as well as in the future is never going to be a bad idea. Not to mention, I do not see hydro ever, yes, I had to say two evers because this is very important going out of meta. Too many important reactions centers around this one element, so having a hydro application applicator that can buff all types of damage as well as heal your team. She is like the essential of Genshin Impact. So if I were to blindly guess between Furina and the Pyro Archon, I would even say Furina might edge out on top over a long period of time. She just has too many uses. So investing in Furina, never going to be the wrong move to make. But now let's talk about Neuvillette. A lot of people who are currently debating this right now, I don't think they're quite getting the point, right? They're saying, well, Neuvillette C1 beats out everybody, right? They're like, oh, Neuvillette C1 is peak. You get him, his weapon, and get him to C1, you've beaten the game. Now, that's almost like saying Neuvillette C1 by itself is what causes this brokenness. Well, not necessarily true. I agree. Neuvillette C1 with his signature weapon is pretty damn busted. But are you going to say that Neuvillette C1 outpaces even certain 6-stars? But are you going to say Neuvillette C1 even outpaces certain C6 characters? I think that's quite a bit of a stretch. I do think if your Neuvillette is sitting at C0 with a free-to-play weapon, getting him to C1 is not a bad move if you're lacking DPS, right? Keyword, if you're lacking DPS. Now, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say most players' accounts are not lacking in DPS. They're lacking in well thought out, planned out investment over a long period of time instead of just impulsively pulling on whatever character is out at the moment or whatever character that they think looks hot or handsome. Now, I'm not telling you how to play the game. I'm here to analyze this from a whale's perspective or a spender's perspective who has spent a lot on this game, on a lot of different characters, and I'm able to summarize and tell you, in all honesty, well thought out planning beats out any amount of whaling in the game. In fact, if you just spend $5 a month over a period of a year, you will likely have a better account if you hyper invested into one good character as opposed to just spread that all across your account, as opposed to if a whale came in, dumped $3,000 on the game in one day and just spread that across a bunch of different characters. It's funny that I say this because I really did splurge on the game. I spent all over the place. I tested this over and over again, but truly now looking back, it's much better if you just hyper invest into one character and build them out really, really well first before spreading out into other characters. I've said this in the past and I'm going to continue saying this. It's mostly because players, especially non-whale players, cannot afford to diversify their resource to the degree that some players are recommending them to do. Not only are we talking about resin, but also time invested, all the primo gems that you can get both from Welcome Moons as well as events and just logging into the game. It's just never enough if you're trying to chase a different team or a different character every other patch. So all in all, I do think though, investing into Furina is still going to be the best possible investment anybody can make if your Furina is below C2, and beyond C2, you're really wanting to hit that C6. But really, that's an investment over a long period of time for most people. And if you're already at C6, you're just probably watching this video while eating food anyways. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, even though nowadays I upload so rarely. But I do appreciate those people who still stick around and comment in my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, I try to stay safe. Peace, bye bye.